Flyvault.net presents Where the River Bends, a fly fishing short story. And now, Where the River Bends. Virginia struggled to suppress the tears while comforting her daughters Rosalie and Judy. Her husband and the father to the girls was gone. Wayne, born in 1912 and the oldest of his 4 siblings, spent the summers of his early years swimming and playing in the sands of Laguna Beach, California, when he was not fishing the surf. The other 10 months of the year he lived with his family in the quaint town of Lindsay, nestled in the foothills of the Sierra. As a lad, he frolicked about the high country, learning every inch of the area, picked up fly fishing at a young age, and eventually got into tying his own flies to chase the big trout that filled the local streams. After high school, he attended college and met Virginia. Upon graduating, he and Virginia would get married. He took a job as a postman and would become the father of his 2 precious daughters. He tied impressive flies, and as the years passed, his flies became increasingly well known in the Central Valley. The locals were constantly asking for them, and they became so popular he created a catalog to make it convenient for people to place orders. Everything was fantastic, except he had one problem: time. The choice was deliver mail or fill orders, but he couldn't do both anymore. So, in 1947, he did what any reasonable fly tyer would do. He marched right down to the bank, got a loan, quit his job, and opened a fly shop in his spare bedroom. Things were a little tight on the budget the first few years, but the family was determined to make it work, and they did make it work as a team. The business spilled out of the bedroom into the breakfast nook, eventually engulfing the screened-in porch before it became necessary to relinquish the living room space for all of the boxes needed. By now, it was the early 50s and business was booming. They were not just selling flies anymore, but materials as well. Retailers throughout the US were calling, and I'm sure the pressure was building. Wayne trained a few local gents to tie flies and gave them work filling some of his orders. The girls helped out too by tying leaders and packaging the products. Virginia took the helm, overseeing all aspects of the materials department, and I'd imagine she spent some time helping design the new house her and Wayne were building. They moved into that house in 1955, but this time putting the business outside of the house in an oversized garage rather than every possible nook and cranny in the family's living quarters. Virginia convinced Wayne to hire Catherine Landers to help her with the relentless growth on the material side of the business. It was said that Wayne and Virginia had the best quality material available at the time. They decided to split the business into 2 parts, flies and material, as to help with process of importing the materials from overseas. Tragedy struck in 1965 when Wayne decided to take his own life. It was speculated that he simply couldn't handle running the empire he had created. And now, the daunting question Virginia had to grapple with: what to do with the companies. It was her primary, if not only, source of income. Offers to buy the companies came in, and friends surrounded her doing whatever they could to help. Her and Catherine were neck deep in the muck of righting the ship. But Virginia had grit. She went down the path of turning tragedy into triumph by pushing and working harder than ever before. She wasn't about to let her legacy or that of her late husband go down without a fight. Eventually, things became stable. However, it was stated that the mourning period never ended for Virginia. In 1978, she handed over the keys to the company to Mickey Powell, a man who had become the primary partner and filled the void left by her husband. Mickey was also Virginia's son-in-law, married to her daughter Rosalie. Over her career, she helped with numerous endeavors in the world of fly tying and fishing. She supported individuals like Bill Nelson and Gene Anderegg as they formed the Federation of Fly Fishers, later evolving into Fly Fishers International. It was stated in an article written by Mickey Powell that it was her idea to add fly tying demonstrations at the conclaves, eventually morphing into the fly tying shows that we see today. And none of Wayne's family or friends ever called Wayne Wayne. They called him Buzz. Thus the Wayne Busek Award was established, a tribute that would not have existed without his wife, Virginia. And now Oh, I almost forgot to mention, their fly shop was called Buzz's Fly and Tackle. And now you have heard a long-lost story from a tyer's bench, and one you can share with your friends when you meet them. Where the River Bends. The Firehouse held their annual fundraiser last weekend. I just lost a match of cornhole to Bubba the Fire Chief when your subscribe button happened to pass by. Bubba asked him if he'd like to play a game of cornhole when, abruptly, he pulled the collar of his shirt over the back of his head and asked, "Are you threatening me?" Bubba said yes, and punched him in the nose. Apparently Bubba doesn't care for buttheads. Take care, my friends, and as always, happy tying.